wham! The door slammed. Now this story from my life goes back to my very first pastorate in a small country church outside of Newcastle, Pennsylvania. The congregation had just met and decisions were made in the congregation. And one individual was extremely angry. And that individual left the meeting and slammed the church door. This individual took a vow to never come back to the church. And I remember later on, this individual got quite ill and ended up in the hospital. And I went to see the individual because this individual I'm referring to was a member of the church. And as pastor, I was to provide pastoral care. So I remember going in to visit with the individual, and I said, I know you're very upset, and I know that you had some disagreements, but I'm here to be your pastor and minister to you. And the individual asked me to leave. Now I've only been asked twice over 40 years to leave and not minister to someone in the hospital situation. So I knew that whatever the anger was inside of this individual, it was still there and it was not going to be resolved. Time went on. Months later, the individual passed from this life. And I remember that I was quite nervous about what should be done next, because the individual technically was still a member of the church and had never transferred to another church. And I knew that technically I was still responsible or empowered to do a funeral service for the individual. So after a lot of prayer, I made a trip over to visit the widow. Now the widow had been coming to church, even though the husband left in anger. And I spoke to the widow and I said, I know that he was mad, I know that he didn't agree, and I know he didn't want me to come and visit him while he was in the hospital. But I am still pastor at the church and I am still his pastor. And I would be glad to do a service in his behalf if you so desired. If you desired to have another pastor do another service, even at our church, that's fine with me. Or if you went to another church and had a service, that's fine with me. But I do want you to know I am available, and I do want you to know that I would do my very best to provide a respectful funeral service for your husband. And this widow thanked me, and I left the home. She said to me, I will think about it and I will call you. So I went back home and occupied my mind doing some other things, and then within 2 hours I received a phone call. And she said, Pastor Ken, I want you to know that I did not have those issues. I want you to know I was not angry at the church. I want you to know I was not angry at the elders. I was not angry at you. That was his problem and not mine. And she said, yes, Pastor Ken, I would like for you to do his funeral service. And so, by the very grace of God, I conducted funeral services for a man who was so extremely angry that he slammed the door of the church, vowed he would not return, and never did return. this man physically died, and it was never resolved. So today I want to take you to a passage in Holy Scripture, and it's a very simple passage, and it's from the book of Ephesians, chapter number 4, verse 26. Be angry and sin not. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath, neither give place to the devil. Now I want you to notice that the apostle didn't deny anger. He said, go ahead, be angry, but sin not. Have anger, but get it resolved when? By the time the sun goes down. In other words, don't let it stay in you forever. Don't let it control your life. Don't let it be inside of you, such to the point that you would be like this man in the congregation. And incidentally, the man had been quite a worker in the church. The man had been very much involved over the years. And he allowed one issue to turn into a situation of intense anger. And if you notice when Paul talked about resolving, and he said, don't give the devil opportunity. Now why is that true? Because when we get intensely angry, then it's like opening the door wide. And then the devil comes right in and makes our heart even more hardened than ever. And so I wanted to share this story with you to encourage you to do like Paul says. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. And don't give the devil any opportunity, especially when you get angry and very angry. Turn it over to the Lord and admit that you've been very angry. Turn it over to the Lord and admit that you've been weak, you've said things you shouldn't have said. But give God the opportunity to work through the situation and bring healing in your life and in the life of others. Thank you for watching Wanderings in the Wilderness with Pastor Ken.